So today I'm going to walk you through the option of doing a ribbon drawing. So there are a couple different steps that you need to do on this. The first one is to practice making ribbons. So there's two different ways that you can do this. Number one, if you're in the classroom and you want to, you can get this worksheet right here and practice. So in order to practice the ribbons and making them, you need to draw at least 5 different ribbons. Then you will shade some of them. You only have to shade 2 of the ribbons, and the idea is that you are creating the appearance of 3D form. So if you have the worksheet, here it is. It's fine. You can do it here. Or if you would rather do it in your sketchbook, you can. I'm going to go over exactly the process of doing this, and then you do 5 and shade 2. So what I have set up here is I have the top edge of a ribbon, and do you notice how it's got some tight curves? They're not big loopy curves. They're pretty tight, but they're still curves. They're not like angles. So once you draw a curved line or a line with tight curves, you're going to drop lines straight down from each curve. So the outside of this curve, the outside of that curve, and these lines that you're dropping down, you want them all to be the same length. And even if it were to go behind the original top line. Then you are going to echo the movement of the top line while placing the bottom edge. Keep the same width throughout your ribbon. So here is my top line. I want to echo it. So from the top of my vertical line to the top of that vertical line, I am looking at what does that do? And I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom. Now notice I really drew a lot lighter there, and that's because that will end up overlapping or covering it up. So this section, top of the vertical to the top of the vertical, does something like that. This one, now there, watch out, I just got a lot skinnier there than it started. So I'm actually going to kind of redraw that. All right, so that's the basic idea. Now I go back and look at what part of the ribbon overlaps or goes in front of another part, and I'm going to erase. So here, that would be solid. So that's behind, closer, closer, behind, closer, closer, behind, closer. So if you want to do it on this worksheet, you can. You're going to do, like I said, 5 ribbons of your own. If you just want to do it in your sketchbook, what you're going to do, 5 tight curves. Okay, determine how wide your ribbon is going to be. So I'm dropping straight lines down from the outside of each curve. And when I do that, I'm making sure they're all about the same length. And now I'm going to draw the bottom line, which echoes the top. So the top of edge looks like that. Trying to keep the same width. So one part of this assignment is about drawing the ribbons, but then the second part's about shading. If you're really interested in this and want to make some more complicated experiments, what you can do is you can take a piece of paper, a strip of paper, just cut a strip of paper, twist it around a pencil, and you will get something you could draw from observation. And this one is going to be more complicated than that, but some of you might find this interesting. So if I look at this, I can actually see something really similar go on. And what happens here is the lines drop down, drop down. So I'm using it as a model. It's not exactly perfect. My drawing is not exactly perfect from what I'm seeing, but some of you might be interested to see how this works. What part of the ribbon would go in front, what would go behind, how do I make it look like a more naturally curving ribbon. The top and the bottom, they echo each other. Where it makes that turn, it is in this case, it's a vertical line, it comes straight down. So that is another method for making ribbons by using some observation to help you. Then what you're going to do, I'm actually going to keep this right here, is you are going to shade two of your ribbons. So that could be on this worksheet, or it could be in your sketchbook. When you shade, you are going to use a full range of value. You are going to use all of your pencil grades. So for the dark values, I'm using my ebony, and then my 2B for medium, and then H. So where do you put the dark values? Well, the dark values are going to go on the places of the ribbon that curve away from the viewer. So in this case, I'm assuming my light is coming from straight above, and it is. That is the lightest part. That's going to stay white. And then as it curves away from me, it gradually gets darker. The other thing that I see is I see whenever there is an overlapping, like this area is behind, there is a shadow there. So that's what I'm going to use as my guide. I'm going to think about that. Even if you don't have a ribbon or a curl to look at, you can still use this idea. Curves away from me, gets darker, pops up, it's lighter, and then darker again. So whenever I go through this full range of value, I am using all three of my pencil grades. So I started with ebony. Now I'm going to shade with my 2B. And these are transitions that is gradually changing. The surface is gradually curving. And then I'm going to switch to my H. Most of this is up and down, but eventually I'm going to, on later layers, start going from side to side or little circles. So if I get to here, this is pretty dark. Well, that's even farther away, so that's got to be even darker. So I'm going to start with my ebony, and I'm going to go dark. And there's another curve. That curving, it fades. So at this spot right here, I want to make sure that that one in the back is darker. So I'm going to shade in that to be just a little darker. So you don't have to have your transition in every space go the full range of value, but on each ribbon, we should see a full range of value. So that section is just a little darker because it is behind. So what would happen here, let's see, probably, again, this is going to be the darkest area here because that's behind the part in the front. So I'm going to start now. This is a case that since I did my layering, I can actually erase part of this to lighten it up. Again, I'm trying not to smudge, so I have contrast. So contrast means I can see the difference between those spaces, even though because of, I guess, there is a big difference in value. So that is the practice. You're going to do draw 5 ribbons, and shade two of them, making sure they have a full range of value.